de nuestro amado comandante Hugo Chávez. Juro.
He was flanked by his friends, but it could be a lonely 6 more years at the top for President Nicolas Maduro. He's starting a new term in Venezuela after claiming to have won an election last year that dozens of countries don't recognize.
We urge Nicolas Maduro not to assume the presidency, to respect the responsibilities of the National Assembly, and to provisionally transfer power until new elections are held.
Maduro has long presided over a country in crisis. Inflation has risen to nearly 1 million% since he took over from Hugo Chavez almost 6 years ago. For most Venezuelans, medicine and food have become scarce and unaffordable.
The health situation in Venezuela right now is the worst situation of the health system in the history of Venezuela's republic.
Around 2 million people, nearly 10% of the country's population, have fled to neighboring Colombia, Brazil, and further afield. But Maduro says he's the victim of a US-led conspiracy to overthrow him and that he'll fight to stay in power.
Está en marcha un golpe de Estado ordenado desde Washington, ordenado desde el cartel de Lima contra el gobierno legítimo y constitucional que yo presido. El pueblo venezolano sabrá responder cualquier intentona, cualquier acción que se pretenda hoy, mañana o cuando se pretenda.
Despite calls both at home and abroad to step down, Nicolas Maduro has the upper hand. He controls the presidency. He's appointed loyalists to the Supreme Court and the Electoral Council. The army has repeatedly pledged allegiance to Maduro and his militarized brand of socialism. In return, the military has been given control over the state oil company PDVSA. But the National Assembly is mostly made up of opposition lawmakers, and last year, Maduro appointed a constituent assembly made up of his loyalists to overrule it. Despite massive anti-government protests in 2017 that led to hundreds of protesters killed, Venezuela's opposition parties have struggled to challenge Maduro. They're split on whether political negotiations or aggressive pressure on the government is the way out. Their latest hope is a new president in the National Assembly who says he's determined to bring change.
This is a victory that will be a happy one, when we manage to strengthen and unite all of us to challenge the government and the regime.
But the real pressure might come from abroad. The US and EU could step up financial restrictions against people and companies in Maduro's inner circle. The sanctions have already limited the government's access to foreign currency, which Venezuela depends on to import all major goods. Skeptics, though, say that Maduro could weather the storm. Venezuela's government is being propped up by Cuba, billions of dollars in loans from China, and Russian military hardware. Maduro may choose to radicalize his so-called Bolivarian revolution.
La milicia nacional bolivariana ha llegado a 1.600.000 milicianos y milicianas en armas para defender la paz de la República.
A path that some fear could trigger violence and more misery on the streets. Sandra Gathmann, The Newsmakers.